Hey guys, welcome to another Project Monday. Today I'm taking a break from some of my other projects and I'm going to be talking to you today about the Green Arrow Seasons 1 through 3 Quiver. Now this is a project that I've been meaning to talk about for a while, and it's probably going to be two parts. This first part's going to be talking about the actual quiver itself, and the next part we'll talk about the straps. So mainly because it's two different areas that I work in for that. But I thought I'd give the rundown, talk about the quiver, show you a little bit of how to make one, then you can tackle it yourself or you can go from there. But the first thing that when it comes to making any props that you want to do, especially when you're hand making it as opposed to, say, modifying legs, this is how far I got fast. And when you're modifying other things, is that when you custom craft something, you kind of have to start from square one, which I've mentioned in my TARDIS console videos, and that is figure out scale, figure out size. So I worked with Andrew Pinder. We kind of figured a rough idea of how big the quiver was, and at the time, as close as we could get. Like anything, you get as close as you can get. So we did that, and we created a 3D model to get the basic shape, and then went from there. So the first thing you need when it comes to making these kind of quivers is actually a buck. Now you can make these quivers out of anything. You can make them out of plastic, you can make them out of PVC, you can make them out of foam, EVA foam. You can pretty much do anything you want to get that hard shell appearance, but we want to do something a little closer. The original ones were actually made of plastic. I chose a different method, a different material. However, it's the same kind of basic idea. So the first thing we did is we created a buck and then had that CNC machined out. So here it is, it's an MDF buck. Got some glue stuck on, there we go. It has the wider opening and the smaller opening down here. Creates a basic thing there, flat on the bottom, and there you go. So it's just a slight taper and everything like that. This is integral to getting the shape of these quivers right. I chose Warbler. Warbler is the one material I wanted because it's easy to manipulate and it can go a lot quicker. So when you're done doing, this was one of my test ones. This is the Warbler shell. See right through it. It's got the same basicness. There you go. That's how it is in there, right? So it's pretty close. You can get it decently done using a buck, using Warbler. Again, if you want to use something a little more traditional like Sintra or PVC or anything like that, you can do that as well using the buck. But you're going to need to do the same steps basically that I'm showing here. So to get this started, I'm just going to run through all the materials that you're going to need. So the first step you're going to have to do is what I didn't mention here was you're going to have the buck and you got to make a paper template, which I don't have here. It's somewhere kicking around. But basically to figure out how everything goes. Because it is tapered, you can't just make a rectangle to wrap around. You actually have to make it a different shape. So after you have that paper shape done, however, and you put it on the Warbler, you get like this. I have these little tabs here which help overlap it and stick it together. There's some slight changes I'm going to be making to these as we go, but after you cut it out, just cut it out with scissors. You have this. Now, Warbler has a sticky side and a non-sticky side. And you want to make sure the sticky side's on the outside for a variety of reasons. But once you have this is where the fun begins. After that, I'm going to take leather. I have forest green leather, which I cut in a strip, and then wrap it around the edge here. Then I mold it over. And the reason I do that is because that's really hard to get into. I first started making them sealed like this one, and then I was having issues trying to get my fingers in there. So I do that first. Then you got to get nylon cordura, which you can get on eBay, which is just a nice stitch. You probably have this on backpacks and other stuff. It's two-sided. I spray glue and tack it down, fold it over so that it is perfectly as possible on there. And then I have a leather template. And then I wrap this in the same forest green lambskin that I use. Now the Real Show one uses cow. I opt for lambskin just for the malleableness of it. And then yeah, then a nice chunk of leather, that holding it all together, the back. So it's not a complicated piece. There is a little bit of sewing, which is what I do for the pocket on the bottom. And then there is sewing more so in the next stage. So we'll bring this up to all the stages of the sewing and then do the rest of it then. I do also use EVA foam for the cap on the bottom, mainly just because if you're gonna put arrows in there or sticks or whatever, it'll help cushion it and won't be just bare fabric or whatever they use in the show for that. The show, I think, really splits it up between cup and main piece. They go on together, and I've tried to do them that way, but I think this way is the best way as far as cosplay is concerned. So again, it takes a little bit of work. It is a whole day's work to make one quiver. Eventually, I am doing a mini run for some people on a group, and I have like six of these, and then that is it. And then I'll be getting rid of everything, and then moving on to the next project. Anyway, so we're gonna get started here. Well, the other thing you're gonna want is, so you're gonna need a heat gun, you're going to need a glue gun, and you're going to need this guy. This is barge cement. It's fantastic. It's really quickly and easy to use for a lot of methods. I like to use it for the leather attaching, mainly because it's really good for that. But yeah, so we'll get this started and we'll go from there. Again, it's a lot of fun, but I think a lot of it's going to be taking place a little bit fast forward here for you. All right, so here I am cutting up my lambskin. I use a ruler to get the basic size that I want to get. You know, basically it's about 1.25 inches, and then I'm using lambskin because I do like how stretchy it is. It stretches all the way around nicely. I'm sure some cowhide does it, and the TV show does use cow for theirs, but I like lamb. It's a little bit easier to use, quicker to use. Covering everything with the barge cement. And then I go and I just make sure everything is going to go around it, and as I start applying it. Now, barge cement does take a little while to fully cure, but does start getting tacky pretty quick. Very sticky stuff. Smooth it on there. Trying to get as smooth as possible so that it sells the smooth corners of everything. Alright, so then we get ready for the heat gun. Now, heat guns, the cool thing with Warbler is, as you can see, it's actually turning to a deeper golden color as it actually gets more malleable for you to form. It's pretty cool that way. There you go, smoothing it out, making sure that it fits as decently as possible. Doing the other side, same thing. Letting it release, you can see it kind of ripples a little bit, but then as you put it back up, it smooths really nicely. Connecting the two ends there. I leave it all together to do most of the work. The buck does get stuck, unfortunately, so you do have to take some time after to play with that. Cut out my couture. And the width across it, you don't have to go all the way down with it, which is great, so you have a lot of excess for everything else. Put some spray glue on it. Get that nice and adhered. And then I have to make sure that it folds nicely, again, on an angle. There I am, just making sure it's as perfect as possible. Even fast forward, you see how long that kind of takes. Same to the other side. Trying to get it at the ends and the sides as even and nice as possible. I will have to go back over with barge cement here in a second just to make sure that it all adheres properly. And then the other side. Trimming off some of the excess, making sure it's all as smooth as possible, trimming away from the bottom because it did get quite a bit stuck there, and which I'll reheat it after anyway, so it's not a big deal. Cutting away the excess fabric. Don't need all that fabric there. It'll actually become a hindrance when I try and put the plug in or the sleeve in after. Reheat that, stick together. And then we're going to work on the top piece. So we got our template there. Make sure I cut a piece of the forest leather decently. Spray glue that, and then come back and place it as possible, and then just start putting the barge cement and then folding over the edges just to make sure that all looks as nice and seamless as possible. And the reason I use that thicker leather is to give it a nice thick look to it, just to make it bounce off a bit. I don't know if this is how the show does it at all, but this is how I like to do it. Then once that's done, and I'm getting very sticky fingers here. You should probably wear gloves when you're working with this. Which is what I'm doing right there, just kind of washing off the excess. So when you get to this point, it's an easy stage to run through at this point. So you can use hot glue at this point. I opted to use the barge just to kind of tack it all up. Then get it smoothed out again. And then I go end to end. Don't go center out for this work here. Just making sure it's nice and tight and smooth. Check it out. All right, so I got the first part done. Here it is, as you can see, not too shabby. Got a couple little cleanup pieces to do. Just mainly smoothing down and tacking things down. Got sticky fingers, but for the most part, there you go. Next part is the bottom piece here, which has to be sewn, and the straps. And that's, you know, pretty much it. There's a lot still to do on it though. There's a lot of, I gotta put loops here and loops down here. It's not done by any means, but this is good part one. Part two, probably finish it all up for you, because I pretty much do all those steps at the same time, because once they're done, they're done. So anyway, if you guys have any questions about this, just ask me down below. Again, part two coming up soon, and other Project Monday videos will be following up as well. I did get a number of parts for my TARDIS console, so stay tuned for those if that's what you really want to wait for. But this is pretty cool. Scale-wise, it's pretty close, so hopefully you guys learned a lot. And again, if you guys have any questions, comments, what do you think of this quiver? Do you like this quiver more? Do you like the newer quiver? I may or may not do, you know, a breakdown on that eventually as well. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for watching. Thank you so much for subscribing. If you haven't done so, be sure to click over here, especially if you want to see part two. Thank you guys for everything so far. The subscribers are climbing. It's amazing. Don't forget about my Zoom giveaway, and thanks for watching.